How's it going, y'all? First episode ever of Obsessed with Balls podcast. So, my name's Chris Oakley, born and raised, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tigers till I die.
Jake Piscini, Central Illinois, Da Bears.
Da Bears. So we're, gonna get together, gonna bullshit, gonna talk about sports, make predictions, love football, love basketball, soccer ball, all the balls.
All the balls.
So kind of just to get things rock and rolling right away, we'll go over a quick recap of this past week, and I will start with the New Orleans Saints. 91 points through 2 games, fourth most in NFL history. 15 straight possessions for scores. Defense is out of control, flying everywhere. They look like they're mad. They look like they're trying to take balls. You know what I mean? And they've been opportunistic. The penalties that they've had make sense for when they're happening. To not get too far ahead of ourselves, I think we're going to take a closer one from the Eagles than what we've done the past 2 weeks. You got to obviously watch more of the Sunday lineup than I did. What do you got?
Well, I'm always going to go back to the Bears, and I mean, it's always disappointing to lose a game on the road, or really any game. But when you do go on the road and you play a team that's hot like the Texans, you do have to take it with a grain of salt, right? And so for me, Chicago's offensive line looks super porous. Their protection schemes aren't working. Is that coaching? Is that the players? I'm leaning towards coaching. I think that the scheme's not set up to succeed right now, but we do have a rookie quarterback, and you have to expect growing pains. New offensive coordinator, 2 new wide receivers, a new tight end. When you add all that together, it's going to take some time to gel.
And no Keenan.
Yeah, and no Keenan in that game, so I'm not going to overreact. He was coaching on the sidelines, which I really appreciate that he's trying to help the young quarterback out. Yeah. Do something if you can't play. Sure. With all his experience, he can definitely do that. So,
and I waited last second to text you, but as soon as the game was like, okay, it's decided, you look like you belong. And how long has it been since you've been able to watch a game in a loss against a team that won the division and is now undefeated this season again?
Yeah.
Won their last game handily, and say, we belong on the field.
And CJ's a potential MVP candidate this year.
For sure.
So for me, I'm down about it. Yeah. Right? Some stuff was really ugly.
Yeah.
But I do think the offense got a little bit better. I saw some improvements. The problem is I didn't really see improvements from the offensive line.
Yeah.
And if teams know the formula is just to blitz, and they're not going to be able to pick it up. And we're not talking about like 6-7 man blitzes.
5.
Yeah, they're blitzing 5. They're rushing 5 guys. Yeah. They're getting through. And, Caleb's time to throw right now is like 2-point-something seconds. He was like 6th in the NFL in time to throw. And for as a Bears fan who've lived through fields and, he's nearly a second slower to throw the ball, that's a reason to be optimistic. So I'm hopeful. And when we get to discussing that game, I definitely have some thoughts. But maybe we should dig into this week's games.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, Thursday we have the Patriots at the Jets on Monday Night Football. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, the Patriots kind of aggravated me because I thought that they could have won this past week. I picked them as an upset, kind of a sleeper game for me this past week. But I do not have them going into New York and beating the Jets. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has looked even good, but they're winning. They're not turning the ball over. The defense played better in week 2. I got the Jets here.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers maybe didn't look great, say, last week, but Tennessee's defense is they've allowed the least amount of yards out of any defense in the NFL, and that could just be a sluggish Bears offense and a sluggish Jets offense.
Yeah.
But it could also be that the Titans defense is for real, and they're like Will Levis making good decisions away from winning a lot of football games this year.
And it's only one bad decision. Or two a game, right? He'll play 75-80% of a good game, and then that last 25-20% he loses.
He tries to play hero ball.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can't play hero ball in the NFL. I mean, we've had a couple guys maybe who Mahomes or Brett Favre who were able to pull off hero ball. I mean, one of those quarterbacks has more Super Bowl championships than the other.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say Brett Favre's hero ball was super successful. Jay Cutler tried to play hero ball.
Yeah, and he won a lot of games.
No Super Bowls, though. Yeah.
Well, kind of moving right along to.
Let me make my Jets Patriots pick.
Oh,
it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, no, it's okay. I really want to pick the Patriots in this game because I think coaching is there now. Not that Bill Belichick. I think he just sometimes you can be the best at something, but it's still time to go. It's still time for a fresh culture to come in. And I think they have that right now. And it's still kind of a carryover of Belichick, right?
Still a lot of his guys.
Yeah, well, and Mayo played for Belichick.
Right.
So I think like the culture's still there. I think they're looking pretty good. But it's hard to go against the Jets right now. So I do have to. I have to go with the Jets. But who was their defensive tackle that's injured right now as well?
Oh, you're gonna have. I'll pull it up.
Yeah, I think the Jets just lost a defensive tackle. I could be wrong. I should know his name. And Hassan Reddick's. This would be a perfect time for him to step up and say, "Hey, I'll play football," because he's an amazing football player. And that whole situation is just insane to me that he hasn't even played a snap for them. Maybe it's not a defensive tackle.
Reddick is on reserve.
Yeah, and I don't think it is. It's C.J. Mosley, their linebacker.
C.J. Mosley is who's questionable.
Yeah, it's C.J. Mosley who's out.
Yeah. And then Jermaine Johnson's also out.
Yeah, so they're missing some leadership on defense. I have to go with the Jets. Yeah. I hate it, but because I think the Patriots can win this football game. Short travel.
We talked about the Patriots on our full picks for the divisions, and we all had the Patriots at potentially the worst team in the league. I think that's clearly gone to it's going to be Carolina again, but
it's definitely going to be Carolina again.
But the Patriots have looked good through 2 weeks.
But I have some reason for the Panthers to be optimistic. We can talk about that when we get there, though.
Moving along. The Fox, 11 a.m. Coming out the gate. New York Giants, Cleveland Browns. Love my boy Scotty Ruggs, but the Giants have not done anything to show me that they're going to be able to move the ball against the Browns. That offense is anemic at best. I mean, I love Malik. Malik's making plays. He's getting yards, but a wide receiver can't win you a football game by himself. Cleveland's offense woke up a little bit this past week.
They did.
Which, it's one of those things that my love for Jameis. Love to see my boy Jameis in there.
Me too.
Running quarterback. But, they ran the ball well. They played Cleveland Brown football at home. I see it happening again.
Yeah, as much as I want to pick the Giants here, I have to go with the Browns as well. I think, is Jameis starting Sunday? No, that's too bad.
Yeah.
That'd be great if he were starting.
Yeah.
I think that they would be a more successful team with Jameis starting.
I agree. Jameis puts teams in a position to win.
The thing about the Browns, I think they're dealing with a lot of injuries right now. So that does give the Giants some hope. But I don't know if Daniel Jones is the type of quarterback who can overcome such a complex defense as the Browns. Is Myles Garrett healthy?
Myles Garrett is healthy and playing. Denzel Ward, questionable. Alex Wright and Zadarius Smith, defensive ends, questionable.
Yeah.
But I think Denzel Ward's your big hit on that. Other than that, they're not really missing anybody of note, while the Giants are without Graham Gano. I'm sure they signed another kicker at this point. But how do you lose without giving up a touchdown scoring 3 touchdowns, and only being able to get 18 points off of it.
Yeah.
It's all hard. That's a hard pill to swallow.
That's true.
That's a hard pill to swallow. Well, okay. It's your time
Yep.
to shine here, bud.
Well, Bears at Colts. I mean, I think both fan bases are concerned. I don't think either team should feel confident going into this football game. I don't have the stats in front of me, but both quarterbacks are throwing probably around 50% completion rate right now. And that's not a way to be successful in the NFL. It's just not.
Can't do it.
And the Bears have shown that they can't stop pass rush. And things can change. It's the NFL. Things could change in a moment's notice. Next week, all of a sudden, things are clicking. The offensive line starts gelling. But I'm a little worried that if the Bears can't get that going at all, they can't get their run game going at all, that I don't see how the offense really starts putting up points. Now, on the contrary, though, DeForest Buckner is going to be out for this game. Latu is playing, as far as I understand.
Questionable is what he's listed as.
Yeah. But also, Latu in college had a pretty great game the last time he played against Caleb Williams. So, but this is a team game. These are different teams. It's not UCLA versus USC.
Yep.
But I think DeForest Buckner missing this game is going to really hurt the Colts, because I think if he's in, he has a dominant game and the Colts win. But with him out, I think the Bears actually have a chance to maybe have some inside protection, because their interior offensive line really needs to be able to give Caleb just a little bit of time to step up in the pocket, have his base when he makes his throws, because he's just been getting killed on every drop back, basically every drop back.
Especially, well, in this, the first half of last week's game, I once again messaged you and was like, this is the best Caleb Williams has looked. And they got 3 on that drive.
Yeah.
Turned around 2 drives later, got 7, but he looked like that.
Yeah.
You know, it was 3-step drops, get rid of the ball, 5-step drops, throw it over the top. Not a ton of that, but 1 or 2. He was accurate over the top. He was throwing to the sideline well. He was stretching the defense. But then the second half came out, and the Texans were like, "Okay, we're just
gonna blitz.
We're done.
Yep, we're just gonna
done
blitz.
With this. We're gonna put Derek Stingley on an island. Go Tigers. And we're gonna say, beat us with your 3rd and 4th option.
Yep.
Because you're not gonna be able to get there quick enough. And if you're not ready to check it down immediately, which I think that's what you see in rookie quarterbacks so much, is not that ability to Drew Brees, Peyton Manning it,
yep.
where it's just like, oh, you want to blitz? Fine.
Yep.
Edgerrin James, Alvin Kamara, Pierre Thomas, whoever it wants to be, we're just going to destroy you with running backs and tight ends until you stop, and then we're going to go over the top.
And I do think that, I think the defenses are going to make a huge difference here. And I think the Bears defense is that good.
Yeah.
So I think that might be the deciding factor in this game, because I don't know if either offense is going to be super productive, except the fact that the Colts have a great offensive line. And the Bears defensive line has been playing well this season.
Yep. Got a couple questionable guys.
Yeah.
Montez Sweat, questionable. DeMarcus Walker, questionable. And then Andrew Billings and Kieran, I can't say that last name.
Yeah, Amagaji or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
And he's still coming back from a quad injury from college. They said they're not going to make any offensive line changes. Eberflus said that, so Kieran's not going to be in there anyways.
Yep.
But yeah, they are a little banged up. And I the last thing I really want to say about that game is that I think it actually helps that Caleb threw those picks last week, because if you're trying to be perfect, you're going to be super careful with the football. And
you saw in week 1.
Yeah, which he was super careful. Second game, they needed some big plays. He tried. It didn't go well. But you have to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
You can't be like, well, I haven't thrown a pick, so I'm going to keep not trying to throw picks.
Jaden Daniels 2022 season.
Yeah, you have to let it go eventually.
Yeah. Well, this was a hard game for me.
And I'm going with the Bears.
Yeah. This was a hard game for me because Colts week 1, Anthony Richardson. Colts are winning this game.
Yeah.
At home.
I think he still threw like 50% that game, though.
But he was able to beat you over the top. Oh, to go back to those stats, that you mentioned. Caleb Williams, 37 for 66, so just a nudge above 50%.
Yeah.
And then Anthony Richardson, 26 for 53, just a nudge below. But Anthony Richardson has 416 yards
Yes.
on that 26.
Yeah.
So kind of wildly different stats selection when you look at, 11 more completions for half the amount of yards.
Yeah.
I do feel like this is a pick 'em. It's one of those that you have this like both are going to play good defense. Both quarterbacks are going to make a play or two. Are they also going to make a mistake or two? I almost kind of fall into the like, okay, it's home, and yes, it's in a dome, but home field advantage matters.
It's funny that you said that because I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was going to say this is basically a home game for the Bears because you're a 2-3 hour drive from Chicago, maybe 3 hour drive from Chicago. Tons of Bears fans
in Indy.
So I could see this stadium being 50-50.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be kind of a hybrid home road game for both teams because it's just like that Jets Patriots game.
Yeah.
When you don't have to travel very far to go to the game, there's a density of fans there. I mean, there's a ton of fans in Indiana that are Bears fans and not Colts fans.
Right. Yeah, as I said, I feel like this is very much pick 'em. I mean, the spread's at 2. The spread's at Colts -1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're dead on pick 'em. When you think about it, you get 3 points for being at home. Bears are winning. Just because I'm friends with you, I'm going to go with the Bears.
Appreciate it.
Next up, Texans and Vikings. For me, this is, the Vikings are one of, if not the surprise team.
Well, I do think though
so far from
I've always thought as the Brian Flores defense as a litmus test for quarterbacks because he really does call a great defense, and it's no surprise that their defense is playing well again. I think the surprise there is Sam Darnold.
That was what I was gonna go right into. I mean, JJ,
and is he healthy?
Not even listed on the injury report, which is great to hear. After I think it was kind of a crampy, muscly, like thought it might have been a pull, but it was really just a weird cramp.
Yeah.
Kind of how he was moving. But I mean, that throw over the top in the shadow of your own goalpost with the defense bearing down on you to throw it 55 yards in the air to the number one receiver, arguably in the NFL.
Hard to argue.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking like not to this level, but like kind of doing a Baker Mayfield here.
And I think Sam Darnold is leading the NFL in passing yards right now.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that insane?
Now both running backs are questionable. They do have both Nico Collins and Justin Jefferson listed as questionable at one point, not at questionable at another point. So hard
Who
to
have the
say.
Vikings played so far? Do you have that up in front of you?
I can get it real quick for you. So Vikings beat Giants, beat Niners this past week.
Yeah, and so like the Giants, it's like, okay, sure, you've thrown a lot of yards, but beating the Niners?
Yeah.
I mean,
I know they're hurt. I know they don't have Christian McCaffrey. I know they're not on 100, but it's still the Niners.
And something about the 49ers to keep in mind is they had, 3 players? Trent Williams, Ayuk, and did they have someone else who was holding out?
Yes.
I thought they did.
It was Debo for a second.
Was it?
He got signed pretty early.
Okay.
He got signed back pretty early. But it was Debo. He missed some super, super early stuff, but then Debo came back.
Okay. But
it was mainly Trent and Ayuk. And then McCaffrey has apparently not practiced for like 3 weeks. For like the last 2 weeks in the preseason.
Yeah. So like there might be some gelling. I mean, even though it's pretty much all returning players, they might take a little bit to warm up here.
Well, saying all that, I'm not picking against the Texans until they show me that they're going to lose.
Yeah.
And, I will be the first to admit I was so wrong about CJ Stroud. I watched him in college football, watched Ohio State, thought he was the next of those Ohio State system quarterbacks that really were never able to make the step into the pros.
Yep.
Whether it was they're just throwing to a spot and letting the best wide receivers, top 3 wide receivers in NCAA football year after year after year, you just throw it up and let them run under it. And that's what Fields did. It's what Cardell Jones did. That's what so many other people.
But I will say that I think when we had our draft party, most of us, if not all 4 of us who were there, agreed that C.J. Stroud should have been the number 1 pick over Bryce Young.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think Bryce Young's trash.
Yeah.
So.
And so, like, we didn't see the greatness that was there.
Yeah.
But we probably would have made a better decision than the Panthers did.
Well, yeah.
And I still look back on that as a Bears fan, and it's good. Time will tell, because if Caleb works out, we don't need to have that discussion. But the Bears could have drafted C.J. Stroud, which makes you wonder about their ability to evaluate quarterbacks.
Right.
And I think about that more than I should.
Well, I mean,
more than I should.
I mean, look, hey, the Saints live in that same world, right? I mean, we haven't drafted a quarterback in the first 2 rounds since Arch.
It's been a minute.
It's
been a minute.
Archie in the 80s?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I get that. You're also going with the Texans, though?
Man, that is... It's tough because the Bears' offense played so bad, and it was like a 6-point game.
Yeah.
And
I think the Bears' defense is better than the Vikings' defense.
But I do think the Bears' defense is top 5 in the NFL right now. I think they're playing that well. And I think they have the best cornerback in football. But not against him, Nico Collins is...
He's that dude.
I didn't realize how good he was until I saw him in that game. And
He's that dude.
So I am going to go with the Texans.
Yeah. Well, who dat?
Yep.
Who dat? It is wild what's going on in New Orleans right now.
Yeah.
It is nuts.
Who would have thought?
Who
Except
would have thought? I mean, I was high on it. I was high. Well, and the thing is I was excited about the new offensive coordinator. Just that we had one.
He is who I wanted the Bears to sign.
Yeah. And the thing was I didn't even remember who we signed.
Yeah.
I was just glad we got a new offensive coordinator. That's all I needed. And then, Clint Kubiak.
Yeah.
Coming from the most successful tree in football right now.
Yeah. Well, and Gary was just such a great coach.
Yeah. So, it's pretty wild, and I think it's what we needed. We needed Derek Carr to have, and...
I believe in Derek Carr.
I know you do. And I've seen Derek Carr be really well. Very respectable guy from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Went to the same high school as me. Matt Moscona that works for ESPN.
Yeah.
Does the After Further radio show in Baton Rouge. Says that Derek Carr's trying to solidify his name back as a top 10 quarterback. And I think the most important thing about that statement is back as.
Yeah.
There was a time where Derek Carr was thought of as a top 10 quarterback, but he would never really make that step. And I think that's always been talked about because it's the Raiders. I mean, it's the Raiders. They're a terrible franchise. I mean, they've got Super Bowls, so...
That's how I feel about the Bears.
They just make mistakes. But now with that, Kamara...
Lights out.
He looks like old Kamara.
If he stays healthy, lights out.
The ability to plan plays for Rashid Shaheed is unbelievable.
Yep.
It is necessary to be able to get the ball in his hands 6 times that aren't on over-the-top passes.
Mm-hmm.
That opens up the over-the-top pass. And if you're able to run the ball with Alvin and Taysom and Williams, you're going to get beat. It's the only question then becomes is how quick can you get to Carr? And if the offensive line plays the way they're playing, you're going to get torched all day.
Who's the guard that ran like 20 miles an hour? Ruiz, is that his name? Cesar Ruiz.
Yes, Cesar Ruiz.
That guy just went running.
Yeah, it was awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Well, which is funny because he had a real down year last year.
Yeah.
And,
well, the whole offense did,
yeah,
right? I mean, you can't blame one play. Like, if the scheming, the play calling, it's not clicking.
Yeah. Exactly.
Players aren't going to look good.
Yeah. I will say that I mean, look, the Eagles are going to be in every game they play.
Yep.
And that does scare me about this game. But I mean, the defense is swarming to the ball. The defensive line is playing great. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's closest game the Saints played so far this season. But I think the Saints are going 3-0.
Yeah, I think at home in the Superdome, I think I have to go with the Saints, which for me is a little crazy, but I still stand behind. I think there's issues going on behind the scenes with the Eagles. And
I mean, you've been saying that for weeks.
Yeah,
months.
Yeah. Well, since last season.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And
we were talking
even at the
about
draft,
at the end of last season. Yeah.
even at the draft before last season, I said, if you're going to draft a bunch of University of Georgia players, all on defense, you're starting a University of Georgia football player frat in that locker room. You're just making an extension, of that campus.
Yeah.
And those players get in trouble when they're in Georgia. And Jalen Carter was just late for a meeting and wasn't like starting at least the first drive of the last game. They sat him out for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think those problems are going to keep popping up. And I just think Nick Sirianni is the most immature head coach in the NFL. And I think something bad is going to happen out of that. And like, I don't think there's stability there. I think they're like walking on glass, and it's been working so far this season. But when you lose leadership like Kelsey and other people in the locker room, somewhere it's going to fall apart, I think. And that's why I have to go with the Saints.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on.
All right. Well, we have the Chargers at the Steelers. I think one of the most interesting matchups here is going to be watching Watt versus Alt.
Yeah, it's gonna be, that should be fun. That should be a fun matchup to watch. I mean, Alt has delivered against everyone so far this season.
This dog just snuck her way in.
Yep, hey Till. But yeah, he's delivered. He's had to play against top tier defensive ends already. And he's been able to hold his own.
Yeah, I agree. This one's really tough because I think if TJ Watt can get pressure, and I say that because I believe in Justin Herbert as a quarterback, but I saw him make a couple plays last week where he's getting sacked, and one of them worked out, but he's getting sacked, and as he's falling, he's making throws, and that's how Tua got hurt. That's how Will Levis throws interceptions, and like you have to make better decisions than that. And so I see starting to see some decision making there that I go, you can't do that. It'll work time to time, and then all of a sudden you're going to be injured, or all of a sudden you throw up interception. And when you play the Steelers,
yeah,
it's an interception or it's an injury.
Yeah,
and so this is one of the tougher games for me this week. And I think I just have to go with the Steelers because they're at home. And I think Justin Fields is starting to get comfortable there. I think the offensive line is giving him the time he needs to throw. I mean, I'm not saying he's a great quarterback, but I think he's in a system that's going to work for him. And so I have to go with the Steelers.
I mean, I think this game all comes down to J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
Can J.K. Dobbins break loose? Can J.K. Dobbins... If J.K. Dobbins runs for 85 yards and a touchdown, I think this is a Chargers victory.
I just don't know if the Steelers are the type of defense where that's happening.
That's the whole thing. What's the weather looking like in mid-September up in Pittsburgh this weekend? I think that's
a good question.
A valid question as well.
That's a very good question. What do you think about Justin Fields?
Weather's going to be fine.
Yeah, I figured.
Weather's going to be fine. I I think he's protected the ball better than he has in his entire career. But at the end of the day, 8 for 11 for 63 yards is not winning football.
Yeah.
And the Chargers, while they are going to play against the Steelers defense, they're going to run the football. And it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be man, this is a hard one. I do think
it is really tough, isn't it? This is one of the tougher games of the week.
I think I also have to go with the Steelers just because of home.
Yeah, that's why I'm going with them.
Yeah, it's a long travel day.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be two teams that win in the trenches playing each other, and so it's like, well, whose trenches are gonna win?
Yep.
And that's why it's like, well, we don't know, so we have to go. I think we just have to go with the home team.
Yeah. Well, and kind of going on to the last, two more games in the 11 o'clock hour. I mean, this one for me is kind of a no-brainer. I think the other surprise team is Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. So the Broncos versus the Bucks at the Bucks. Yeah.
Broncos at the Bucks. I mean, I think this is a no-brainer. Bucks win.
Yeah.
I have already circled it's either week 6 or week 7 matchup of Tampa Bay and New Orleans, where easily both of those teams could either be undefeated or one loss at most, and that's gonna be fun to watch. At the end of the day, this is the Baker Mayfield that everybody always wanted.
Yep. And like, I'm not out on Bo Nix. The rookie quarterbacks.
I've been out on Bo Nix for fucking years.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Fucking Bo Nix had to run to the fucking Pac-12 to even complete a goddamn pass. Okay, I don't give you fucking Bo Nix.
But I just don't see him being ready yet.
No.
So I just don't see how the Broncos can beat a team like the Bucks, who are hot right now. They were hot at the end of last season. They've got a lot going for them. Buccaneers.
Yeah. And then the last game at the 11 o'clock hour, Packers at Titans. I hate to say this one as well, but Will Levis has got to stop losing football games before I pick the Titans. They're actually playing as a football team better football than I expected them to play. The defensive line, as you talked about last week in their when we were hanging out, their interior line presence
incredible
is it's wild. It reminds me of the Rams. When they were just Aaron Donald, but they could rotate. It was Aaron Donald plus.
Well, Simmons and Sweat are just such terror on the inside.
Yeah. But once again, Will Levis got to stop losing football games. Malik Willis looked way better than could have expected. Now, saying that, I expect to see a step back in his second start. And I don't think he'll be as bad as he was last couple seasons. Two seasons now?
I think
this is his 3.
Yeah, I think this is his 3rd year.
That out of Liberty. That seemed like yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hate to say it. I hate Jordan Love. I hate the Packers. But the Packers are going to win this year.
I love hearing people say that. But I'm actually not, because I'm, a Bears fan. In fact, I'm really high on the Packers this year.
Yeah, no, you are way higher than I am.
And I try to be respectful. But I'm actually going to take the Titans in this game.
Wow.
And the reason I'm going to take the Titans is because how did the Packers win last week? They ran the ball.
Yeah. And you're not going to be able to do that
And
as well.
I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball like that against the Titans.
For sure.
And if you can stop the run, it's going to force Malik to have to play more quarterback, which he played well.
Yeah, he did.
But now there's film on him in the Packers offense. The Titans, I can't guarantee, but I'm going to say are going to slow that run game down. And now it's two inexperienced quarterbacks who might make questionable decisions out there. And so Titans at home, I'm going to take them.
Yeah. Well, I think one interesting part about the Green Bay running attack, though, is they do something that really only the Saints do as well as they do, maybe the Chiefs, is they attack the outside via spreading the ball.
Yeah.
With the run, and I think that can kind of counteract a little bit of what Tennessee, because they're not traditionally running the ball. That's not the way the Packers run the ball, which is, honestly, like, you've heard me talk ad nauseum about the Tigers. trying to run the ball up the middle when you got dudes everywhere and get the ball to the outside.
Yep.
So I'll get into that later. So yeah, a little split on us, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, moving into the afternoon hour, I mean, Panthers at Raiders. Raiders are playing better football. I guess they're not playing that much better than I expected them to play. I did not expect them to beat the Ravens. But they didn't necessarily play better than I thought they were going to play. I think the Ravens just played worse.
Yeah.
I do have a clear Raiders over Panthers, but I don't really.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Panthers are going to look better with Andy Dalton in.
100%.
But since the offseason, I've thought that the Raiders were going to be a better team this year than last.
And they were a 9-win team last year.
When Pierce came in last year, that team started playing tough football. And they've had an offseason with him. They brought in Brock Bowers. And Gardner Minshew,
I'm a fan.
He has the highest completion rate right now of any quarterback in the NFL. Now, is that going to continue across the entire season? Probably not.
He's got a higher completion rate than Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Derek Carr's only thrown like 7 incomplete passes through 2 games.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I mean, someone can fact check that, but that was a graphic I saw recently.
That's wild.
I think Derek Carr has the most touchdowns in the NFL. Minshew has the highest completion percentage in the NFL, and Vikings. Sam Darnold has the most touchdowns. I could be wrong, but I believe that's true, if not very close. But I'm still going to take the Raiders because we'll see about Andy Dalton.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Love Andy Dalton.
They're going to look better with him in there.
100%.
Yeah. Well, we have the Dolphins at the Seahawks. I assume Skylar Thompson is going to start this week because
I was wondering.
I think Huntley is going to need a week. I mean, sure, Baker came in after like a day and played for the Rams last year,
right.
Or like got signed
but
that day.
A little bit different.
He's a better quarterback.
Than those names you just mentioned.
So like, I'm having a hard time seeing the Dolphins being successful with him in there. So for me, this is just like, I just have to pick the Seahawks. I don't think there's much to talk about here. Honestly, I just see the Dolphins not being very good without Tua.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got weapons, and Mike McDaniels is a national treasure.
Oh, I love
quite possibly my favorite coach in the entire NFL.
Yeah, same.
I mean, he's just amazing, and I do think he will find ways to get Tyreek, Waddle, A-Chain, all these dudes the ball in position to like let them move and let them run, which I do think they'll be able to score some points. But the Seahawks came out and they're playing smart football.
Yeah, well, and another thing I said at our preseason picks was how will that rule change for the Dolphins affect them where motion now the player can't be moving towards the line of scrimmage at the snap, and they were so good at like last second Tyreek Hill's in motion running forward so he gets a head start running. How much is that going to affect them? And now without Tua, I feel like that offense has a lot shaken up.
I'm taking the Seahawks as well. I mean, they're just, and I wanted to take this. I mean, I've once again high on the Seahawks at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And, kind of regret not taking them last week, but the Patriots, I thought they were going to, and look, that was a close game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a coin flip.
Yep.
I think quite possibly the second most exciting game of the week. We're about to talk about it. And I think that's the Lions at the Cardinals. The Cardinals, so Yoff, our boy Yoff, picked the Cardinals to win the West. And when he said that,
I had him second.
I remember. I was like, that's wild. Yet I've picked the Cardinals in both games so far this season. Now, I think...
How good does Kyler look?
Good. I mean, look, the offensive line, I mean, he's doing some Kyler things and scrambling around, a little of this, a little of that, but, like, 8.5 seconds without actually leaving the pocket. I mean, that's how Mahomes.
Paris Johnson's looking good.
Yeah. I mean, I am gonna pick the Lions because I think they're gonna bounce back. I don't think the Lions are about to lose 2 in a row this early in the season. They're too good of a football team. They've been there. They're mature. They're well built. Love the coach. Love the way Jared Goff is kind of transformed into this like second stage of his career. I am picking the Lions, but I mean,
who did the Cardinals play last week? Because I'm curious. I mean, the Lions have a good defensive line. Aiden Hutchinson is an amazing football player.
He's the real deal.
So will Kyler be able to get away with that same stuff this week? Hard to say.
Yeah.
But if you just look at their offense from week 1 to week 2, they are getting better.
Rams 41-10 final score.
Yeah. And the Rams are dealing with injuries.
Yeah, the Rams got a lot going on.
They're trying to figure out how to deal with not having Aaron Donald.
Yep. Which you mentioned Kelsey in the Eagles.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, obviously a quiet leader, always has been talked about like that. They still got studs everywhere on that defense. But
when you have to triple team a player,
yeah, it makes the rest of everything hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you taking the Lions or?
I'm gonna shake it up, and I'm taking the Cardinals because I think the Cardinals' offense is just looking better and better. And so let's see them do it again.
Hey, look. As I said, I'm huge on the Lions. Would love to see the Lions go to the Super Bowl. Obviously, an NFC North guy like yourself never wants to hear that. But they've had a lot of great teams over the years that could never even win the division.
Yeah.
Because whether the Bears were that great that year, Minnesota was that great that year, or the Packers were that great that year, they're still coming in second in the division. They're still losing early in the playoffs. They got that monkey off their back now. And this is a good football team.
They're the team to beat in the NFC North.
I
Absolutely.
It. Yeah, 100%.
I just think the Cardinals are playing really good football right now, and I think they're going to be a hot team. I thought that at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison Jr. got going this past week.
It's going to be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a great football game.
Well, next up, kind of getting back into that really tough to call. I mean, you got the Ravens at Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys coming off of just getting their ass annihilated.
Yep.
By the Saints. Who dat? And the Ravens just losing tough one. Making games harder than they need to be for how talented that team is.
Yeah.
And the story, the headline always is this the year that Lamar can do it? Is this the year that Lamar can do it? And I mean, through the first 2 games of the season, the answer is no.
Yeah, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, they figured out that Isaiah Likely
is a man.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, but we have Mark Andrews, so we're not really going to play him as much. And I thought that was a big mistake. I think that's part of one of the reasons they lost that game.
In week 2, because they played, Likely had a huge game in week 1.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, well, Mark's feeling good. So, but I think Mark Andrews' age is starting to catch up with him.
Yep.
Injuries are starting to catch up with him. And so I feel like they're making some weird personnel decisions there. And, I've heard a lot of people talking about how Derrick Henry is better,
he looks like a monster.
Not out of pistol formations.
Yeah.
And more in an I formation or single back like that.
And they're running a lot of pistol.
So that he can get a full head of steam going, run between the tackles, and that's not really how they're using him.
Yeah, but he's still looking great.
He still looks great, but when we start looking at why are they losing?
Yeah.
Or why did they lose to the Raiders?
Right.
Why did they lose to the Raiders?
Well, let me ask you. I mean, what's your base offensive lineup if you're the Ravens right now? This is our base, right? We're not, obviously there's so many different offensive formations that you can line up in, but like if I have an idea of what I'm sending out when I'm like, all right, what's the base?
Well, I'd be running 12.
Yeah,
You know,
100.
I'd be running 12, and I'm not really seeing them do that as much.
Nope. I'm looking at.
I don't know what the stats are on
I'm looking at the Patriots with Hernandez and Gronk.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely.
Yeah.
Put Zay Flowers in the slot.
And then you have Derrick Henry
and then
back
you got
there.
Derrick Henry in the backfield.
Yeah.
Who's their true? Well, because Zay Flowers isn't a true one.
Well, they wouldn't be running a slot, right? If they're running 12.
Well, right, but
so like, you either have him out Flowers with
honestly,
Bateman.
I'd have Likely like split out in a wide position and have Zay backed up off the line. And so your personnel is 12, but your formation wouldn't.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's how I was thinking of it.
I do think they need
to
get...
we're 100% on the same page there.
But I also think their defense is dealing with, they lost
Patrick Queen.
Well, they lost what's his name? Mike McDonald or Mike McDaniel?
Oh, their defensive coordinator?
Yeah, who's now the head coach of the Seahawks.
Yep.
What's his name?
I don't know. You would know better than I would.
Well, it's Mike M something. Mike Mick.
We'll fact check it
later. But I think they're missing him, and I think like the personnel on defense is just phenomenal in the Ravens. But I think like bringing in someone from inside the building to step into that role, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And that defense isn't clicking as it was at the end of last season.
Oh.
Sometimes it takes a little bit to get rolling.
And I mean, yeah, they lost their D coordinator, but they also lost their number one tackler in 2 straight seasons, 2-year All-Pro, and you let him go to your biggest rival.
Yeah.
And I haven't got to watch a lot of Steeler football to see if Patrick Queen's blowing it up over there, but like I'm doing something to keep that guy on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's a Tiger, so I got personal feelings in that involved, but like I'm not letting Patrick Queen walk out the building and then go to the Steelers.
No.
Well, that's a lot of talk on the Ravens. I mean, the Cowboys going to bounce back?
Well,
I mean, the Cowboys are a good football team.
I think the Cowboys historically.
I'm pretty sure we all had the Cowboys winning the East.
Yeah, and I think historically, the Cowboys have played really well at home. So I'm gonna have to take the Cowboys just because I think they play really well in Dallas.
Even though they just got dominated there.
Yeah,
but I think it's more of a bounce back. I think it's the Cowboys because the Ravens hadn't gotten shit smacked. So it's harder to bounce back from tight losses than when you just go get sloshed.
Yeah.
And you now feel like you need to go prove something. So yeah, I got the Cowboys as well. Little NFC West matchup with the Niners versus the Rams. I kind of in the same fashion of but I guess it's kind of same but different. The Niners are too good.
Sorry, who did you take, the Ravens or the Cowboys?
I took the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But so the Rams just got absolutely worked. The Niners lost a close game that they, in theory, shouldn't have lost. And but at the end of the day, I just think the Niners they're too stable. They're too stable to come out. The Rams, they just got so much. I mean, they just got too much change, too much injury. I think they have one of the best coaches in the league, with Sean McVay.
Well, who's their starting wide receiver this week?
Puka.
He's injured.
Wait, I thought he was still playing.
Puka's on IR.
I know Kupp's on IR.
Yeah.
Thought Puka was playing.
No, Puka got hurt week 1. Knee injury. Knee or ankle. Something with his leg.
That's wild.
I have him in fantasy.
Oh, well, you would know.
And then Kupp's hurt.
Yeah,
Aaron Donald's gone. The Rams lost whoever their middle linebacker was. They traded him to Tennessee. So their green dot player on defense, they lost. They lost like their two biggest defensive captains at the start of the season.
I think that's one of the most underrated things to lose. Once again, going back to the Steelers, Patrick Queen was playing green dot for him.
Yeah.
So you're signal caller.
And my other thing with the Rams is just that I think
Debo doubtful, McCaffrey IR.
Well, the 49ers have been able to just run whoever at running back.
Plug and play.
McCaffrey's like a luxury to them. But with the Rams...
Puka's not listed on the injury report.
Really? Oh, so he's back.
I think Puka's back.
Oh, that'd be great for my fantasy team.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
Matt Stafford... I think they have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I think Matt Stafford's still underrated. Criminally underrated.
Yeah.
And everybody knows McVay's an amazing football coach. So, they have a chance, and it's a divisional game.
Right. So it's always going to be tough.
Yeah.
But once again, from every game I've ever heard of in that LA stadium is whoever's away has got more fans.
And I'm just going to say this. We're going to talk about a bounce back game.
Yeah.
I think the 49ers are about to have a bounce back game.
I think the 49ers are going to win big.
Yeah, me too.
Big.
Me too.
Chiefs Falcons. Wow, the Falcons pulled one out their ass. Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley gotta find a way to make that. Why are you not running the football in that situation on 3rd and 3? With the team that you have, you can get 3 yards on the ground. The fact that you're not running the ball. But once again, he's wide open. It's definitely a first down, possibly a touchdown. And you're now up 13 with a minute 45 to go or 2:15 to go, something like that, rather than kicking the field goal and being up 6 or whatever the math was that works that out. But does any of that even matter?
Well, if you look at some stats on the referees and the Chiefs,
I don't.
It's insane. We don't need to get into that, but
I don't like talking about it because at the end of the day, I see it.
But this is Sunday Night Football. This is primetime football. This is primetime crazy referee calls.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go against the Chiefs.
They do. No, they do. But I mean, this is
is a tough
one. The
Falcons
are a better football team than they've been. Kirk Cousins still has not played a complete football game. Do we see that this week? I got the Chiefs. The Falcons could make a run. Hey, the Chiefs are going to have to lose again.
Who is the starting running back for the Chiefs this week?
Not Pacheco.
Is it Carson Steele? Is it Kareem Hunt?
Kareem Hunt.
Is Kareem Hunt just going to pop in and play?
I bet. I mean, they're still running the same offense.
And I like...
It's not like the offense has changed since 2017.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Carson Steele, but I don't think you want to have an undrafted rookie fullback coming in. And I think he fumbled last week.
No, I think you give the ball.
I don't think he has the top-end speed.
I mean, they still got Clyde.
I think they might have... Did they cut him?
They
might have cut him.
I thought they signed him again.
I thought they. Oh, did they? They re-signed him. I thought they cut him for some reason. I could be wrong. But
no,
he's still on the roster.
Clyde's still on the roster.
I think this is a little crazy because I think it's silly to go against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think Chris Jones is just
he's a monster,
a game wrecker.
Absolute monster. And he's got that Aaron Donald wreck, not different position.
Yeah,
but he wrecks the game. He wrecks the game in a very similar.
I don't know. I mean, Aaron Donald was playing like a 3 technique. Yeah. I don't know what Chris Jones is playing on the defense. I assume
just see him often fully outside.
Yeah, that's true. He moves around a lot.
Fully outside.
Well, Aaron Donald moved around a lot too.
For sure, but it was.
I feel like they play.
It would always be inside of a tackle.
Okay.
Rarely did you ever see Aaron Donald line up outside of a tackle.
Okay.
I see Chris
point.
Jones, standing on 2.
Yeah.
Often.
I mean, I think it's silly to go against the Chiefs here, but and I'm gonna add one more thing here.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing Kirk Cousins really moving in the pocket.
He's not.
And I not that
you think he's nervous about it, or you think he's got limitations?
I think he has limitations.
Yeah.
Well, I think just with that age, it's hard to come back from that injury. Yeah. Sometimes that takes a year for people to really return to true form.
Yep.
So, it's probably a combination of both. I think he knows. He's like, I can't get too crazy here. But you might have to move around to get around Chris Jones.
Oh, yeah.
And That's probably why the Chiefs are the smart pick here. But after a big win like that, the Falcons start clicking. They're at home. Bijan's looking really good.
Bijan's looking real good.
I'm going to take the Falcons.
I love it. Love to see it. Monday Night Football. No, a doubleheader on Monday night this week, which is always fun. I say doubleheader, but it's not really because they're kind of getting played at the same time.
That's true.
But the 5:30 Monday night, Jaguars at Bills. Well, the Bills proved me wrong.
Yeah.
Josh Allen is that dude.
Yep.
You know, he refuses to lose, I think, which is probably the most admirable quality that he has. Losing just isn't an option. And he will put everything on the line for it.
And he's got the body to do it.
You took it out. You took it out of my mouth. Love it. The Jags kind of was mids on them. You know, I thought they made a couple nice moves.
Yeah.
I thought Trevor Lawrence might be able to finally start to sit in the system and make things
Brian Thomas Jr. looks good.
Brian Thomas Jr. looks like a fucking dog.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he is the real deal.
Yeah.
If anyone was questioning, I mean, him and Malik are out there making flash plays every week with once again, as our boy Scotty Ruggs loves to do, and throw some stats up in our face. Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence are the same quarterback.
I mean, I need to ask you a question that I already know the answer to, but is LSU wide receiver you?
Undoubtedly.
Okay.
I mean, look, Alabama's got some great dudes.
Yeah.
OSU's got some great dudes.
Yep.
But the best wide receiver in the league.
There's some good wide receivers from USC.
There are. I would say that they don't have the numbers to keep up.
I agree.
I think Alabama, LSU, Ohio State are the only dudes that got numbers. Yeah. I mean, when you go back to the fact that Odell and Jarvis came out and literally Odell and Jarvis were breaking each other's
Juice was killing it when he first came out, wasn't he?
He set the record for most yards that in rookie, sophomore, junior seasons, which JJ is now destroyed. Quickest player to six grand in the history of the game. He's just gonna. It's gonna be wild. He's gonna break. If he stays healthy, he will break every record.
Yep.
In the history of the game, except for maybe Megatron. Which I could see him doing, but once again, he's going to have an extra game to do it.
True. Very true.
But, no, I mean, I think LSU is wide receiver, and I think when you really look at it, and when you got the fact that you're going to have Kyron Lacey coming out next year, you know what I mean? Hopefully Chris Hill can, I'll save that. Well, we'll get to that in a second. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second. But, I mean, once again, while Brian Thomas is looking great, the team overall just can't get it together.
No.
I think this is an easy pick with the Bills.
I'm Bills all the way.
Yep. And then our final game of the week, couple LSU Heisman quarterbacks.
This is true.
Battling off against each other.
This is true.
Jaden's looked good. I mean, he's not, he's playing Jaden football, which you mentioned earlier with Caleb, and maybe he needs some picks. Maybe he needs to lose the ball.
Yeah.
But,
let it go a little bit. You know what I mean?
Jaden's out there, I mean, he's doing Jaden football. He's throwing high percentage passes. When he gets an opportunity to throw the ball downfield, he's unbelievably accurate from 15 to 35 yards. He hasn't got a lot of opportunity to throw over the top because instead of what I've seen from the little bit of Washington that I've got to watch, instead of bringing extra people to the line, they're just playing shell and saying, we all got eyes on you.
Yeah.
We're waiting for you to run it.
Yeah. Well, I'd want him to run.
Yeah.
Hey, we want to hit you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the defense wants.
Yeah. And
he
hasn't been great about sliding.
He never is, but there's this weird thing when you watch him more and more. He doesn't take big hits when he's hit.
In the pros so far.
In
college, he...
Well, the thing was, is he would take... They looked like big hits, but then when you go watch it again, you're like, oh,
I'll dig deeper.
Glance. He's got this really good glancy getting tackled move. He's got to get smarter about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love to see it.
I think he's got a pretty low completion percentage right now, too.
The last game, what I saw was he was at like 75.
He was better. Yeah. Week 1, he might have been like at 40.
Got it.
45 maybe.
Yeah.
And then this past week he had a little bit. But it's all about improvement for a rookie quarterback.
Yep.
So you can't look at the last game. You got to look at the next game.
Yep, exactly. And I think he's going to be great. Saying all that, Bengals at home. Joe looked fantastic against the Chiefs. Made the one fumble, but it wasn't necessarily like him holding the ball out.
Yeah.
He wasn't over fighting for yards. It was a normal run, and you play in the NFL, and everybody's punching the ball. Speaking of punching the ball, Fred Warner's a fucking monster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, watching the 49ers game last week, like, the only reason that they were in that game is Fred Warner calls like 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
Obviously an exaggeration, but it literally I saw.
Well, he's probably the best linebacker in football right now. I'm trying to think of for like a off-ball linebacker, not like pass rush, but
right, exactly.
And my tough thing is like I've been worried about Joe Burrow's health. Like, is his wrist okay?
40 for 53 for Jaden.
Okay, 40 for 53. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Thank you for looking that up.
Or 10 too. I mean, that's
what was his week 1? Because that means week 2 I think was really good. Because I think week 1 was pretty bad. While you're looking that up though, like I was starting to get really low on the Bengals, and I was starting to think maybe Joe's injuries had caught up to him. But last week he looked really good.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how you go against the Bengals this week.
Yeah. 17 for 24.
Oh, week 1?
Yeah.
Oh, so I must be thinking of his passer rating. For some reason, he had like a really low passer rating.
He did because it's all underneath.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, because it's cute. Yeah, it's.
Thanks for clarifying.
And then in quarterback rating, and like they have the 2 different ones, and like the one that's 158, which is passer rating, is only like it doesn't factor in all the other things.
Okay.
About, like running the football and like efficiency
and he's been
on downs.
good. He's been good with his legs so far.
Yeah, he's been great. But yeah, once again, this is a big
but I do worry, like Justin Fields, what last year was it? Missed some games because his hamstrings were getting super cramped, and they had to like rest him for a week or 2. And I know Lamar has been able to pull off running every week and not really run into those problems. So those guys are different builds.
Yep.
I think Daniels is.
Jaden reminds me much more of Lamar.
Yeah, exactly.
He's thin,
but physically he might not run into those problems. But I think you do always, and it's too early for this to play a role.
Yeah.
But when I think about the Commanders, I think, hey man, if you run that much every week, is your body going to slow down, especially your rookie year? Because how late into the season was he playing college football?
Yep.
And then immediately going in and training for the combine, doing the combine, all this stuff. They didn't really get a break. And they talk about the rookie wall where you hit a point in the season.
I mean, he stopped playing in
November? Yeah.
Like
but then you start training right away because you're trying to get drafted.
For sure.
Especially if you're top pick.
He didn't, so not to like rebuttal, but like.
That's all good.
He knew he was a top 3 draft pick.
Yeah.
He didn't fully work out at the combine. It's not like he wasn't working out.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think that he had to do the same things as other people had to do.
Yeah.
His all the things that was up here and then on tape.
But you're like learning an NFL offense for the first time. You have rookie mini camp. Other pros don't go to rookie mini camp.
Right.
A lot of people don't go to OTAs.
Right.
But when you're a rookie quarterback or a rookie in general, you have to do all of that.
Especially when there was no option for anyone else to start.
So there may be a point in the season where that running, all this work catches up to him.
Look, I don't think they're going to win this week, but let me tell you, if he is able to do numbers like he is, putting up around 285 to 300 total yards between rushing and passing, and they figure out their red zone issues and are able to get the ball in the end zone, and they win a couple games, defenses are going to have to change.
Yeah.
And that's what...
That'll open up that top.
And that's where... That's what he wants. That's what he wants. That's what the Commanders want.
Oh, he wants to throw deep posts.
Yeah, he loves it.
He wants to throw deep posts.
He loves it. Well, yeah, that wraps up our week.
Yeah.
I think we only have one thing left to do.
Yeah, you want to talk about some college football this week?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, so, we're in that really weird, almost kind of dead time of the college season where, you get these first couple weeks that are just banger, 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 and then, then it kind of just mellows out, and there's not really a ton of great games going on, so you got to kind of read between the cracks. I think that one of the two games of the week are definitely going on Friday night. The Illinois-Nebraska game should be super fun to watch. Matt Rule's got Nebraska playing Nebraska football.
Yep.
Matt Rule's a great coach. He struggled very much in the NFL, but when you look at, some of the greatest coaches in the history of both college and pro football, they went to the pro, they were college coaches, they went to the pros, struggled, and went back to college.
Nick Saban,
Pete Carroll, like two of the greatest, both, two national championship winners. Pete Carroll's gone on to win Super Bowls. It's not a bad look, especially when you do it as quick as Rule did it, which is what Saban did, which is what Pete Carroll did the first time around before he came back. I'm really excited about that game.
Who do you think wins it?
Teams. What's that?
Who do you think wins it?
I think Nebraska wins it.
Yeah, me too.
They're -8.5.
What do you think about their quarterback? Just full blown going Patrick Mahomes.
Dude, he is wild. I haven't got to watch a full game because I was at work during that Colorado game.
Yeah.
I mean, the highlights are just fun.
They had a great first half.
Yeah. So I do have Nebraska winning that at -7.5, and I don't know if they cover. Illinois is a good football team, but they really haven't had to play the caliber. But I mean, they're a good football team. I think moving into after that, you really got to start to look for some good stuff. In the early hours, I think the NC State Clemson game's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
NC State's a good football team. Lost a heartbreaker to well, no, that's right. They lost to Tennessee, and they were in a tough game with La Tech, but ended up being able to pull it out.
Yeah.
So Clemson's an improved football team to where they were last year. But I mean, I could see him stumbling on this. So that's definitely one to watch. Not going to really call the upset there, but that's definitely one of my upset alerts. And then you're really kind of starting to look into the afternoon games before you get anything good. Obviously, I'm going to be watching UCLA, revenge game back at home. Really struggled against South Carolina, but I think South Carolina's a better football team than a lot of people think they are. I will say that we lose that game if their quarterback doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I mean, the resolve of going down 17-0 in the SEC on the road and coming back, Anthony Anderson looks great. Xavier Thomas looks great. Kyron Lacey looks great. CJ Daniels is a baller, dude. This dude is quite possibly the best wide receiver blocker we got on the team. He does all the little things outside, and they're doubling Kyron constantly.
Yeah.
And so your third down look a lot of times has been to CJ or Mason Taylor, who actually this past weekend broke the tight end receiving record for most receptions by a tight end. In
wow,
LSU.
How many did he have? Do you know?
No, not in a single game in a career.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to look.
I was
it up.
like, whoa, I didn't catch that.
I don't know. But Mason Taylor's a G. I mean, he's grown up. True. I mean, from beating Alabama on a 2-point conversion in overtime your freshman year to just being an absolute baller. Cade Durham, I've been hollering Cade Durham's name for a month before. Before the season started. So it was really great to see him be electric. Offensive line's got to learn how to run block. They definitely did better, especially after Cade Durham started to break some. It's really sad to see John Emery go out for the season. Like, really, it just seems like he's had an up and down career and was really hoping for a lot for him. But I think Caden Durham is going to be able to replace that. And when you're running back,
it's a deep football team.
It's a deep football team. When your running backs make great plays, your offensive line wants to block better for them.
Yeah.
So I don't think. I mean, Indiana beat UCLA like by 30. I'm not worried about UCLA. We got a couple more that we got to get some shit straightened out before we got to play Ole Miss. Other than that, in the afternoon hour, Michigan USC is interesting, right?
USC's playing really good football right now.
USC's playing really good football.
They're playing really good football.
I saw a draft board that had what was it, Miller Moss?
Yeah, Miller Moss.
Miller Moss is the number 1 quarterback taken in the draft.
Arch is too young to go, or no?
Arch is too young to go, and once again, Arch is going back on the bench. Quinn Ewers if Quinn Ewers is healthy, Quinn Ewers is starting quarterback for that football team. He's done nothing to lose that job, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, Arch looks great, but Quinn Ewers has got to do something to lose that job. I don't just give his job away. He's lighting it up. A week ago, he threw 3 incompletions against the Michigan.
I think you're right, even though I want to argue with that.
Yeah.
I think you're right because as a head coach, you can't say, hey, you've done nothing wrong, but he's playing well. So are you, but we're not going to put you back in.
Right.
I think that's a bad look for a head coach. So I think you're right. Which makes me sad because I've been calling for Arch.
Well, everybody has.
Yeah.
It's
I've had some people argue with me about that.
Oh yeah, I thought.
Well, they'll be in here on the pod soon enough, so they can speak up about that. But
I thought they should have had a little bit more of an open competition.
Yeah, but I respect that style of coaching. When someone's done everything right, you don't bench them just because someone else's name. And now they know he can play. Yeah,
so we already knew he could play. Now it's solidified.
And Arch knew he was going there to be on the bench, and Peyton's talked about that. He's like, I'm proud of him for going there and saying, hey, I'm going to sit behind him and learn.
Yeah.
Next year, I think he wins the Heisman Trophy and goes first in the draft.
100. Well, back to the Michigan USC game.
Oh, yeah.
I think that more than anything with this game, I definitely got USC.
I have USC winning it too.
But I think it's not about USC winning or Michigan winning. I think it's, does Michigan belong?
Yeah.
You know, you got routed by Texas. I mean, routed by Texas. And yeah, you lost a lot, but you internally hired. Your coaching staff is the same. You have a lot of returning offensive line. Your Donovan Edwards is still on the football team. Why is this dude not getting the rock as much? You got weapons everywhere. You've got defensive guys. You did lose a lot, but this is college football.
But they
you're
lost.
Michigan. This is college football, and you're Michigan.
They lost the 2 biggest leaders. And what do I know about Michigan football? Probably not enough to actually say that. But they lost their 2 biggest leaders in my eyes. Yeah. You know, they lost their head coach, and Harbaugh is not just any coach.
No, he's not.
And they lost their quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, who you have to assume is a leader on that team. And when you lose those guys, it's going to take a minute to get going again, which is why I don't see them winning enough games to be that team this year.
Right. And once again, it's not about winning games. It's about do you belong? We go back to the Bears conversation from earlier. You're Michigan. This is college football. Restock, reload, next guy up. That is the entire story. You might not be Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State, where you're literally national championship contender every year in, year out, but you're Michigan. You can't just fall off the face of the planet.
Well,
LSU's done that too many times.
They weren't very great when Harbaugh got there.
Correct.
And they weren't
good.
actually...
They were good.
They were good, but they weren't like the powerhouse they were, right?
Right.
And when Harbaugh was there in the beginning, they weren't very good. And he went crazy with recruiting, which he got in trouble for. They had Connor Stallions stealing signals, which is, there's a level of that that's legal, but the way they went about it was not legal.
Yeah.
they're 3-6, I think, against Ohio State in the past 9 matchups. The last
2 and 3.
The last 3 they won.
Yeah. Is it 3 in a row that they've won?
They're 3 in a row won.
Yeah.
Because one of my really good friends is an Ohio State fan. So we were talking about this. I pulled up the record. I think it's they're 3.
That is right.
They're 3-6 against Michigan the past 9.
They're not winning this year.
And if you go back to before Harbaugh really had that team rolling, they were losing those games.
It's like 12 in a row or something like that.
They were losing those games, and so for me, it's like it's going to take them a while to get going again. They might have some recruiting problems.
Yeah.
Now that NIL's out there, there are schools. I think that's part of why Nebraska is so good. Is I don't know what it's called, but I talked to a guy who's from Omaha or Lincoln, and he went to Nebraska, and he was talking to me about how there's this like coalition of farmers that basically donate millions of dollars to Nebraska's football program. Yeah. And now that things are loose like that, I think you're going to start seeing a shakeup in which schools are the biggest schools, because now
Michigan's never not going to have money.
I absolutely agree. But now instead of being this team, there's other people coming up because money is what matters now. And so they might stay here, but when other teams start creeping up, all of a sudden, I don't know. But Michigan's always going to be – people are just going to want to go to Michigan because it's Michigan.
Yep. Well, and as I'm saying, let's see if they can try to play football, because I'm not calling it, but I could see USC running them out the building. And once again, in their own building, just like it was when Texas did it.
And I'm not an Ohio State fan. They are going to get
shellacked.
Absolutely killed by Ohio State this year.
It's not going to be good.
And that's going to hurt their recruiting.
Yeah. So also this midday lineup's actually pretty solid too. Upset of the week, Georgia Tech over Louisville. Georgia Tech's got a couple good games. Lost to a very, very good Syracuse team where they'd be 4-0.
Yep.
They're on a roll. They've got one extra game underneath their belt because they played week 0. Louisville's a good football team.
Lost to USC.
But Louisville's undefeated.
I thought they lost to USC week 1. Am I wrong?
Lost to USC week 1.
Okay, I was looking at college football records right before you got here. So.
LSU lost.
So I did not mean to do that. That was not intentional.
Ouch, that hurts.
That was not intentional.
Louisville's given up 10. Georgia Tech's a good football team. 10's way too much. They will definitely cover that spread. And then kind of if you just like to watch college football, Auburn, Arkansas. Neither of these teams are great. But I mean, it's an SEC matchup of just a bunch of dogs all over the field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be smash mouth. It might not be the most pretty. Auburn's -3 at home, so basically they're saying it's a dead even game. It's a pick'em game.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a fun game to watch. Arkansas has this really bad habit of shooting themselves in the foot.
That's why I'm leading toward Auburn.
They've got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
But they don't. But they shoot themselves in the foot. But that's just a. Hey. Have it on a side TV somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yep. Put it on the second
and
TV.
Then this game's pretty wild too. Utah, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State sneaking up in the rankings.
Yeah.
Utah, kind of becoming a perennial powerhouse.
Yeah, they really are.
Now they've got a 77-year-old quarterback. Dude's been in the college. Dude's played college football for his entire life. It feels like, or at least my entire life, and I'm fucking 38. You know what I mean? Like,
I felt that way about Stetson Bennett, though.
Oh no, I agree.
He was like a 5-year player and won a Natty's last year, and maybe back-to-back Natty's, right?
Lost in one.
Oh, okay.
But Cam Rising is a good football player.
Yeah.
But I haven't got to watch a ton of Oklahoma State football, but I mean,
me neither.
Looking at the stat lines, seeing what's up.
I'm definitely putting that one on this week.
That is going to be a fun game to watch. I mean, that is a 12-14 matchup. Oklahoma State is favored by 2.5. So once again, you take away the home field advantage. Utah is favored by a 0.5 point.
Yeah.
It's going to be a wild game.
Yeah.
Bedlam. bedlam.
That is a fascinating game.
Oklahoma State is favored in that game, though. Then, just teams to watch, right? I mean, put your eyes on Missouri. They're a good football team. Put your eyes on Texas. They're playing ULM Monroe. So I would be surprised if Arch doesn't start this week.
No, he's starting for sure.
Just because you want to let Quinn have one more week to heal up. And look,
Arch is going to throw 7 touchdown passes
100%.
this week. He's going to throw 7.
Let's let this be known. Arch has never thrown a pass against a guy who will even think about playing football on a Sunday.
I still believe in him.
I do too, but I just let's let that be known. Arch has never thrown a pass against a guy who will ever even sniff a Sunday.
I think he is the real deal.
Colorado Baylor. I just love trying to watch, what's Shedeur gonna do? Is Travis Hunter gonna do some dumb shit? You know what I mean? I think Travis Hunter is much watched football. I just think he is.
Well, and for the viewers at home, we're in Colorado right now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're in CU territory.
CU territory. Nobody's CU people though.
Yeah, no.
Oh, Scotty Ruggs is CU people. Scotty Ruggs is CU people.
I'm a Lynx. I'm a CU Denver Lynx. But I'm not rooting for them. I just think, I'm all about respect, and I think that football team's too cocky. I think Shedeur should have shook the hand of the CSU football, the quarterback's hand. I forgot his name.
There was apparently a bunch of really, really shady shit that the Colorado State kid threw out there.
But here's the thing about it, to me.
Be bigger, man.
Yeah, you don't let other people drag you down. So now he looks bad because he wouldn't shake his hand. And I kind of feel that way. It's we'll go in there and be the professional and be like, hey, man, it's all games. We're playing a game. We're big kids playing a football game. We're just playing a game. So, hey, let me shake your hand. Good luck next year. Be the bigger man. But I just think there's so much shit talk, and they're turning people against them, which maybe will work for them, but I see that whole thing falling apart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see this, but I could see Deion leaving once.
Yeah, well,
once everybody gets drafted.
When they brought Warren Sapp in, I was like, oh, so they really did, they are out of their minds.
Yeah.
I thought that was a horrible move.
Love Warren Sapp, though. What a legend.
He's an amazing football player. I'm not convinced he's a good football coach.
No, I don't know that either, but what a legend.
Yeah.
I did miss one game that definitely needs to be talked about as well.
Oh, yeah.
Huge SEC matchup. Tennessee versus Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma, pretty big deal. I mean, they're 15. Tennessee looks untouchable right now.
Where's the game?
In Oklahoma. I know, in Norman. That's going to be a good one. Let me look up the spread on that one real quick.
I might have to take Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's getting 7. You taking those points?
Yep.
Yeah, you are. Oh, they're getting 7.5.
Yeah, give me Oklahoma on that.
Tennessee's a good football team.
Yeah, they are.
Tennessee's a good football team. And if you like Big Ten football, little smash mouth, run the ball, a lot of defense, Iowa at Minnesota in the evening hour. Just some old school.
That is going to be
nobody actually knows how to play modern football.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, I just love
That's
that
pretty
shit.
good. That's pretty good.
That is some Chris Oakley fucking football right there.
That is hilarious.
Well, hey.
Yeah.
We did it. We've been talking about it.
Good stuff.
We've been talking about it for years. That's week 1, babe.
If anybody listens, thank you. We'll be back in a week.